Today's consumer is more informed. They're seeing things on the internet. Sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not. But they are more concerned about where their food is coming from and how it's being produced and transported. And so they want to know these things, and they want to know if there's GMOs or if they're natural or local. So all of that is driving what the industry is having to do for consumers to buy their products. You know, I think the GMOs is a really good example because USDA is just now working on a new rule for labeling for GMOs. And so when that eventually goes through, and it will because it's congressionally mandated, so when eventually it goes through, then the companies will really need to be sure they know if their supply chain is using anything that's bioengineered or not. Customers, even if you're a small farmer or just a small company who is providing ingredients to other producers, sometimes you may be exempt from FSMA itself, but your customers are requiring those rules or those requirements. And sometimes it's just because, you know, some of them have been required even before FSMA was out, just because they want to ensure the quality of their product, but some of them is to make sure that they're meeting all of the requirements, that there are some supply chain requirements in there that they have to make sure that theirs are doing. And so whether you're large or small, you may be held to it because your customer is. I think probably the two T's, the technology and the transparency, are probably going to be the most impactful, where the new technologies, there's a lot of the new smart technologies that are the artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, that can replace humans, but you have to be careful how much you allow them to replace humans. But at the same time, a lot of this is even starting at the farm level. So when you've got technology that's working its way through, you need to be able to integrate some of that as well. That feeds into the transparency, along with traceability. I guess a lot of times I can consider them the same thing, but you need to be able to trace back. Technically, according to law, you only need to go one forward, one back. But when you have recalls such as the romaine lettuce, where they never did find the source, people are starting to ask more questions. And again, consumers are going to be asking more questions of, I don't want to not be able to eat any romaine, tell me where this is from so that I can get back to normal. Food safety itself is not that much more difficult than it ever has been, but I think the job will be just because people are looking more closely. And maybe that's kind of the focus, is that regulators, as well as your customers, as well as the consumers, everybody is looking more closely at what you're doing.